And we're recording.
There we
So,
go.
hey, this is going to be a podcast that me and Miles have spoken about in the past, but obviously, with everything going on right now, we're going to work on getting more content out and getting different guests so we can get all levels of fitness in between the two of us. So, this podcast is basically just going to be explaining a bit about me and Miles, both personal trainers, and then have a bit of an insight into what we've done in the past and what we're working towards in the future. And then we'll obviously work towards more topics in the future. So I think this is a bit more of an interesting way of doing it instead of just sitting there having to read someone's like opening Instagram post. Because I feel like every PT has at one point gone, I need to write that I'm a PT, I'm a level 3. So I think this is going to be a bit more casual. It's probably the best word to say. Because I think, yeah.
A little introduction about me, a little bit introduction about Mike. And yeah, that's it.
Like we've tried to have discussions in the past, and I think we've tried to be serious, but then we get to a point where we're like, oh, da, 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 da.
I'm hungry, and I want some food and tacos. So let's go.
Let's go. I'll let you start.
Right. There's a logo. I was that kid who was quite chubby. Got picked in the last when it comes to PE football. It actually, my little fun little fact is I actually didn't have that much of a sporting background. My background was mainly art, so it was a fine art degree. It wasn't until kind of my late years, being a teenager, that I started really enjoying football. It wasn't until I was actually 17 until I started actually weight training. Grandma used to be a bodybuilder. So I used to train in his little room / gym, whatever you want to call it.
Was it a shed?
It wasn't a shed.
I feel like everyone's got like that shed sort of experience once in a life.
Yeah. Took me to a dark alley. No. So literally in his house, he had a little room. They had a little few weights, barbells, all the old stuff he used to have in his old gym. And I used to train in there 3 times a week. From that sparked this kind of quest for knowledge. I wanted to get myself a lot fitter. In a way, I wanted to impress the women. That's what I wanted to do as a young child.
You were the one that had spent the Friday afternoons curling for an hour straight just so they get ready for the weekend.
It's all, you name it. But in a way, I wanted to look better, as all young teenagers wanted to do. So that's what I did. I researched from people from YouTube, I researched a lot myself. And when it came to uni, there was a point where it's just the focus started switching. I enjoyed fitness more than I did with art. Once uni came to an end, I decided to take that route. And to be honest, if anything, it's probably been the most easiest journey I've probably ever had. Yeah, there's been ups and downs and stuff like that, but it's felt right in a way. It's not always been like, oh, do I really want to do this? Do I want to quit? Yeah, there's been hard days, but I'm sitting now happily, enjoyingly talking about my experience in fitness, which is something that if you asked a 13-year-old Miles would have done, he probably would have laughed with a pizza in his hand or something like that. But yeah, exactly. I mean, like that Saturday night, Top Gear, big Chicago town pizza with a big pack of Doritos. That was my Saturday evening. Nothing much is
like my ideal night now, though.
No, exactly. Get in that bolt. But yeah, that's kind of like my kind of showcase of background. Obviously, time goes on, you'll probably learn a little bit more about my background a bit more. But yeah, that's the kind of general overview of it.
Yeah. So you're a level 5, like ProFit PT out of
currently work for ProFit Personal Training. It's kind of a company that helps, very new PTs getting obviously into the business, and obviously grow into their career, which I can very say they have. They've done a really good job with me and stuff like that, especially when I was quite new into the business. So I currently work in Gym Etc. in Congleton. As Mike's just said to me, I'm a level 5 PT there. So, yeah.
Because I think it's one of the biggest things, and especially, I know that myself now because I've only been qualified with your help anyway for about, what would you say, 3-4 weeks?
Yeah, 3 weeks.
Yeah, I think so. So I think taking that jump in the first time for any PT is going to be like, oh, I've been up to the point where you're like, oh yeah, I'm learning, and then you just get thrown in and you've got to figure it out from there.
Yeah, exactly. I probably would say I was quite lucky in the sense that when I first started, I had a lot of people around me. We've obviously got my team. I'm very proud to be a part of. Obviously, got my mentoring, my bosses, and stuff like that. So I had a lot of support. And yeah, it was scary. Like being a new PT in an industry when everyone knows you as the guy who paints portraits and landscapes can be quite overwhelming. Obviously, when I first started my job, I only had a barista job at M&S, so I had a lot of people, a lot of pressure, asking me like, how am I going to make it? How my family like going behind my back and getting me involved with interviews, with jobs. So the first month of the job, it wasn't easy in the slightest. I didn't pick anyone up. Worked very long hours. I worked pretty enough from like 6:30 when the gym started to 10 o'clock at night when it closed. And if it wasn't for a lad's holiday that I had in Copenhagen, which I nearly didn't go to, I probably wouldn't be sitting here right now 2 years later. But yeah, just got good fortunes after that. Obviously, I met some amazing people past that time. Got some amazing clients right now that I'm working really hard with. Obviously, this whole roller virus business at the moment is obviously.
I don't want to talk about that right now.
But yeah, it's put an effect on not just also PTs around the world, but everyone's in a way fitness journeys and all that. It's going to be a tough time for everyone. So yeah,
I just sit and watch the world at the minute, and I'm just like, mentally everyone's struggling because they just don't know what to do, and they're just physically just like, I have to sit at home. All people have to do is sit at home, and that they can't do it. And I don't understand why they find it so hard. Like, some people have literally lost their jobs for this, and then some people are now getting paid. Is it 80%?
I know. So people who are employed are getting 80%. So obviously, if you do quick maths, if you're getting 60k a year, that's 48 grand of your pay. Compared to me on £95 a week. Yay! And now I haven't even applied for that yet, but.
So that's what annoys me when people like say that personal training isn't a real job. Have you heard that? Have you had that yet?
I've heard that, and obviously I've heard people say it's a luxury and stuff like that. My very experience of job is we've got an opportunity to give value, to change people's lives, change their perception of themselves. Sounds very cheesy and stuff like that, but we're more than just people who just give them a workout and tell them to do 3 sets of 8. I only do 3 sets of 5 because I can only probably count up to about 5 anyway before messing up. But yeah, we obviously we give them a lot of advice. We help them with experiences that they're dealing with. It's almost like counselling at times.
Yeah, I think more than just an hour a week. That I think a lot of people are just like,
you know, doing your job by an hourly rate. And what I mean by that is if you talk to them when they're in the sessions to when they go back home and you don't talk to them until the next time you see them, you're doing your job wrong. That is it. You need to be constantly talking. I'm not talking always talking to them and stuff like that, but making sure that you give as much as you possibly can. So messages, bit of knowledge there and then, but also as well, you need to obviously be that part. You need to be stuff like training yourself, eat to the right foods, practice what you preach. That's always been a strong statement of mine. I know obviously a lot of people, let's say the personal trainers down in my gym, get a lot of slack like that because they're big power lifters and they don't obviously, when you look at them, you don't think to yourself, oh, someone that's would be a personal trainer. I've obviously had that in the past, but I mean, for me, especially in my history and past about it, is no matter where you come from when it comes to knowledge, if you're willing to put the time in, willing to put the work in, and you're willing to obviously put the effort to obviously learn and really help people, then yeah, of course you can be a great personal trainer and stuff like that. And even 2 years later down the line, I'm nowhere near. The more I learn, the more I realise like I know. It's just like, what? There's so much knowledge out there and stuff like that. So if someone says they know it all after 2 years, they're bullshitting.
Yeah. What is the saying? The older you get, the less you know.
Exactly. If you stop learning, you've already got 1 foot in the grave.
Like I think there's a load of cliche sort of like messages you can get from like the industry, and it's a lot of people saying like if you don't move forward, you're gonna fall behind because like obviously
all of the cliches, full of them, absolutely full of them. Like there won't be a day or a podcast, should we say, where I don't bring a cliche out. I might as well write my own book.
Like he's looking down here now, and he's just got a list of quotes that he's like, "Oh yeah,
exactly." Look at that! Like, it's got like sheets and everything of it and stuff like that. It's all waiting for me. The only problem is I'm dyslexic and I can't read them. Pictures.
But no, I think there's a lot that I think a lot of people don't understand with the fact that a PT is there and they're going to be there. But then you also can't get fit training 1 hour a week.
Yeah, exactly. Like, obviously, when I first signed up a client, I always recommend 2 times a week.
Yeah.
And I obviously get to see him a little bit more. 2, dig in obviously the importance of training regularly. I do have some clients who obviously are once a week, obviously due to obviously things like financial reasons. They can obviously do things by themselves and stuff like that. But yeah, like you've got to, if you're training with someone once a week and all that, you've got to make sure they can be doing it 6 other times in the week. So they're not going to get results they're not going to get mega results if they're doing it once time a week and stuff like that. It's got to be a full-time effort when it comes to especially fitness, especially stuff like weight loss goals and stuff like that. Like, you hear it every day that one day can ruin an entire week's progress, and it is very true. But it's not the other way around. One day of really good stuff is going to make a massive difference. It's going to make a difference, but it's not making a massive difference.
I think it's also the perception of what a coach will provide to you. So, like, obviously, if you can judge your intensity and you judge your reps to what you think you can do, but a coach can look at you and say, well, obviously your form's dropped a bit, or your intensity's dropped, and realistically, you could do a lot more here. But because in your head you're like, I feel like I've done enough, you're going to stop.
Yeah, as humans, we're naturally inclined to do the least. We obviously, as human beings, follow the path of least resistance. So technically, we always try to go the easy route, just naturally human beings. So yeah, we probably would, when we stop, we always probably could do probably 1, 2, 3 times the reps. And you do get that quite a bit. You do get a lot of people, especially like, let's say women, for example. You tell them to go and do, right, come on, let's go do 2 more reps. And they're like, no, I can't. And
you can, you just don't want to.
And sometimes we do 5 or 6. It's just like, it's just a nature, and it's not just women, it's men as well. But just like, obviously, women is a very good example, because we've got this very split in the industry right now, where we're getting a lot of like young females bringing a lot of fitness and stuff like this into like bringing a massive community. And on the other side, you've got females who want to tone. I mean, the word tone just does my head in, so it just doesn't exist. You either build muscle, like it's just people are scared to look like men, but yet the women who do look like men, not saying that they do, I've had tens of years of experience on them and stuff like that. And muscle development is a very slow process,
and potentially some degree.
Sorry, I didn't catch any of it. I literally froze in your head, just like that.
So, like an injection of some degree, potentially.
Oh yeah, like the amount of like when you see things like, I'm going on a rant here, like when you see things on magazines and stuff like that, and you get people like, I want to look like that. I was like, good mate. Well, he's just done 3 months of dieting just for that photo, and that woman, she's probably had like breast implants and lips done and stuff like that. So if you want to look like that, good on you. But
Don't believe everything you see.
Exactly, like in the fitness industry and stuff like that, there's a lot of mid-less information.
Yeah.
But at the same time, even the stuff that's obviously been found truth and stuff like that, we can't just go, yeah, that's right, because it's the way it is. We've got to challenge it as personal trainers, obviously, to be able to apply to us, to apply to ourselves. I've very, very noticed that obviously now we've gone from my experience to me ranting a hell of a lot.
This is what the podcast I feel is going to be like. They will like
Into
a topic.
People are going to get very bored of that.
But no, like I think, I mean, I want to try and follow more of a hypertrophy, so like building muscle, but like when you're in like a bodybuilding kind of industry where the focus is like not how hard you're training, but are you natty or not. So if you've not heard natty, it's basically just meaning natural, or if have they been taking steroids. And the fact that like some people will lie, like a lot of people will be honest about it, which I do like nowadays. Like in the past, they've been like, no, I've stepped on stage or I've been completely natural. I mean, you can definitely tell they haven't.
Yeah, that comes down from an insecurity. And obviously, I'm not go there, because that's I could be here for hours with moaning about that, but obviously bodybuilding is a massive thing. It's been around for ages and stuff like that. Even like, for example, like I mentioned before, but my granddad had been involved with it. And when I first started training, he obviously offered me steroids if I wanted to take it and stuff like that. And now, clearly by these gains, I'm definitely not taking it.
Myles, you're not going to make it naturally. You need to do it.
No, exactly. Definitely not. But for someone who's definitely moved my practice from, like say, like a bodybuilder who wants to get, like, for example, the guns, the abs, the massive chest, to someone who wants to look at performance, so stuff like obviously how much weight can I actually put on this bar while safely loading it, how fast can I run, how obviously now I'm playing a lot more football, so obviously for me, I've got to have a look at these power outputs and stuff like that. So that's where obviously now you'll probably see a different communication style when it comes to obviously, let's say myself compared to you, Mike.
Yeah.
Because you're very into that kind of bodybuilding and stuff like that.
I think it is important though for like the functional kind of thing. Like I have been looking a bit more towards it in terms of like conditioning, because I think a lot of people try and neglect it, especially when they're looking at something like a contact. I'm not saying like football's a contact sport, but if you looked at something else, and if you said, I just want to be big and be able to, like rugby, so I just want to be big so I can take people down. But it's like, yeah, you might be 20 stone of solid muscle, but you've literally got no like power output and you can't move yourself when you need to. It's like if you had, it's like a lot of the New Zealand rugby players, and you'll see that they're massive, but they can shift as well, and that's deadly.
And there is a correlation between strength and size. They're not always one-on-one.
Yeah.
But going back to what you said about, let's say, functional, like the word functional can sometimes be taken not out of context, but can be very used in a very, I can't think of the word, but let's say, for example, someone like your average Joe and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Doing machine work will be functional for him because he's very new to training. But let's say someone like, a professional athlete and stuff like that, they're going to have to do stuff that's going to take a second of their sprint speed or an extra weight off their squats and stuff like that. So the word functional is very different from every person and stuff like that. But yeah, like as much as it is to each person, yeah, you've got to kind of look at obviously what sport they're doing, what activity levels they're at, where they're at in their career. Again, I've gone off on a little bit of a tangent again and stuff like that.
Welcome to Myles.
Myles, this is how my head works. I go around the roots when you just wanted a straightforward answer. But yeah, exactly. Like, it's going to be different for every single person and stuff like that. Like, their training goals are going to be different. Therefore, their training is going to be a little bit different. Their nutrition might be a little bit different. So, in a way, you've got to treat everyone like an individual. Everyone's going to have different problems. Everyone's going to have different strengths.
In
Yeah.
terms of like, if any like people that are like new to the gym or anything like this, if you see like a workout on like Instagram or anything like that, and it's like telling you to do this, and it's been sent out to their millions of followers, don't follow it, because one, you might be on a different goal than them, and two, you might be working to a completely different like aspect in terms of training. If they're training to like a 1 rep max, but you're working to hypertrophy, you've got completely different aspects of what you actually need to be doing.
Yeah, but also as well, like I think if people want to build muscle, they're not going to be tend to looking at 1 rep maxes and stuff like that.
But they're just going to see someone that's jacked. Back to the old discussion. If they've been on steroids and they're like doing this and they're like, oh yeah, I'm just going to do a 1 rep max to see my strength, and someone else sees it and be like, oh, look at the size of them, and they're doing a 1 rep max. I'm going to do a 1 rep max. Like, you need to figure out like where you are and where you want to be in terms of your training to then progress.
And at the same time as well, the only way you're going to learn is through experience. I mean, like, before the place that I was at now, yes, I've done a deadlift wrong. Yes, I've done a squat wrong. I've definitely done a shoulder press wrong. Yeah, exactly. Like, we've all done things wrong in the gym and stuff, and we've all been that one person that everyone's looked at and go, what the fuck is he doing? So, like, deadlifting in a small place. Like, we've all done that. You might not, Mike, because you're an expert and stuff like that, but...
Oh, I don't know. I think I started training probably at the first year of uni, like resistance training. So I used to be a long distance runner before that. So probably about 18, and I was there, and obviously go in, you see what you can see on like Facebook and all Instagram, and I was like trying to chest press 10 kilograms, and I'd see the person next to me doing like 35, and I'd just feel about that big. And like that's when a lot of people are like, well, if he can do that, maybe I could do that. And then either cause an injury or the self-esteem gets knocked.
Ego.
Yeah, 100%. And then they get the rep ranges where it's like this. And I'm just like, you're really not going to make any sense of that. It does anger me sometimes when like people will just follow what someone else does in the gym. So it's like, if you've got Beryl and she still sees someone doing a clean and jerk, she's not gonna be like, oh, you know what? I fancy that. I want to take that on. But it's like, no. Like, your real main focus should be like fall prevention.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, like, going on to, again, obviously, the nature of our jobs as well. When we've got someone who comes up to us and go, oh, I want to clean and press. First of all, we shouldn't be saying to them, well, you can't do that.
Yeah, but I think
and to go back to what you were saying before, if someone's doing a particular thing that they like and they look the particular way that they want to like, they're going to follow them. Naturally, I've done people like that with Jeff Nifford. I've done that with Petrunian Physique. I've done that with Crispin Guzman. I've done it with a lot of YouTubers. So for someone not to follow it, I would probably say go for it. Take what they say, do it, learn from it, put it into your own practice.
I think it depends on yourself. Like I think saying that I think a lot of lads will know like Jeff Nippard, and like he has a very like scientific approach. So obviously we've discussed in the past of like the full body routines and all this, and he will actually back it with science.
Yeah.
And he'll be like, okay, this is why we do this, and that's what I'm moving more towards now, in terms of like trying to learn exercise mechanics and that kind of thing, instead of just saying this is why we do this. Or the other day where I was using resistance bands for weighted dips, and like I can see a lot of people probably looking at the exercise and being like, this makes no sense at all. But realistically, in the scientific aspects and fatigue, it's a completely different ball game to just using a plate. So for me, science rules instead of like just seeing someone that got results.
What probably wants to hear after us probably ranting for a good half an hour is go and try stuff, learn it, put it into practice. Nice and easy.
Find what you like, do it safely, enjoy yourself.
Do what you like, break your back, recover from your back injury, and then do the same shit again. Do something different.
Yeah, no, but like you'll probably get to a point where
look,
you're like a 18-year-old lad, heard you.
Yeah, everyone's going to make mistakes. It is a natural. We fail more than we succeed. So therefore, for me, you trying to make mistakes and stuff like that in a way is avoiding your way of trying to learn process. You're trying to be a safe bet. Oh, I'm going to get to things. The worst thing you can do as well is compare yourself to someone's year 10. That's the worst thing.
Yeah, 100%.
Let's say like the 3 YouTubers that we just mentioned, or even for example ourselves. Look at someone when they were at your time. So for example, if you just started, look at when they first started training.
Yeah.
5 years down the line, look at when they're at the 5 years. Obviously, yeah, look at them now because they've got a lot of the knowledge and experience. But you don't want to be going and, especially if you're putting a negative spin on that and you'll go, no, I can't do this, I can't do that. How can I dare to look like that? It's like, don't put into perspective and stuff like that. Also, as well, if you're someone like, say, my height, which was 5'8", you're comparing yourself to a genetic guy who's 6'4",
yeah,
then obviously you're not going to be able to compare yourself and stuff like that because different things are happening, muscle length, levers, tension, all that malarkey, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
I just feel like though, if you do have someone that's 16, and like obviously we're both under the understanding that like when you're at a younger age and you're a beginner, you've got a lot of a higher chance of building muscle quicker than someone that's experienced. Say again.
Newbie gains.
Newbie gains. So yeah, I just feel like if you were in a position where you weren't shy in the fact that you do want to learn and not like the naive. I mean, I can admit myself that I was naive when I first started training because you just see what you see and you think that you know stuff. But if I knew what I knew now, back then, I don't know where I'd be now. I think I'd be a lot further ahead.
But then obviously as well, to the new people that just started, this is obviously a counter argument to what you said before. if they don't go out and research and do them experience and stuff like that by the time they get to that intermittent phase where they had a little bit of experience and stuff like that, they probably might be a few steps back to where they are right now. So
I'm not saying it in the respect of don't go out and like do bad things or like try and fail. I'm saying you can try and fail, but then try and like work it more into what you want. So if I'm saying if you needed a chronic, I'll go back to one of my experiences. If you need chronic stimulus, but obviously you need the recovery time, which is obviously a key factor. I remember I always used to follow like chest day on a Monday, and then foolishly I thought I could do shoulders on a Tuesday. But I didn't really know what fatigue was because my sessions, in terms of intensity, were just not there. And I'd hit like legs once a week and like back, arms on a day. I mean, they have got a place within training, but for me now, like in terms, I'm on a upper lower, well, trying to be on an upper lower split right now with everything going on. And I felt, obviously this will be the hypertrophy podcast, progressions for me were a lot better now that I have the science back behind it. I have what I understand is intensity, and I could throw that. If I threw that back in to when I was younger, the progressions I could have made would have been a lot more severe.
Yeah, but that's like saying a lot of things really and stuff like that. Like, there's no point. Yeah, you probably would make more gains anyone. If I just started with the knowledge I knew now, definitely would have been a lot better in regard to where I am. But looking at that kind of approach, it's for me that's kind of, I wouldn't say pointless, but it's you're just not going to know. If you're a beginner, you know everything. You're going to either drop out very quickly and get bored very, very easily, or it's just you're not going to work your hardest and you're not going to reach that potential. Where if you're like, let's say, for example, which most case people are, the chubby kid at the school, aka me, when they've got that motivation and they're driving, everyone's kind of telling them, no, don't do it, you're never going to be this, you're never going to be that. There's this kind of fire in the belly to therefore go it and do it. So, exactly. But that would probably be an interesting thing to talk about is, when would you probably say in the training years that you've had now, when would you say it's probably been the turning point when things started kind of going well for you? Or have they not gone well for you? Are you still going?
So I think this is probably best for me to jump in terms of my experience as well and like where I've been, because then I can obviously cue it into what this is. So like I was so set on being like a PE teacher growing up, and then I went through uni, did sports at uni, and then did a placement year, and I was just like, it's just not for me anymore. Floated around, and then I worked as a sport instructor on cruise ships for 3 years, and this was obviously a variety of different stuff. But then by that point, I'd obviously been in resistance training whilst I was at uni, and then went to like the limiting, like, what are you doing?
I've got a battery life of 3 minutes.
But yeah, anyway, so I did 3 years on ships with like limited training. I'm like talking no barbell. It was like a Smith machine in one of the gyms on one of the ships, and then like the dumbbells went up to about 35 kilograms. But obviously my exercise selection back then was very limited, and my knowledge of exercise selection, I didn't understand the processes of how you could like hit your back and your lats differently than just a lat pull down. Didn't understand like the importance of grip. So I think if I knew a bit more about that, so obviously going back to that question you've just said, like as soon as I left ships, and then I worked for My Protein for a bit, and then I'm back at an original job, now PTing as well. Not anymore. So yeah, I think the turning point for me was understanding that the restriction on equipment sort of opened my eyes a bit to what you can actually do with a limited range. And then it sort of opened my eyes and made me more curious on what you can actually do. Because obviously, if you looked at legs, for me, when I was training legs, all I'd know really is a squat, a leg extension, calf raises, and hamstring curl.
When I was a kid, I didn't even know what leg training was. It was all upper body. Shoulders every day.
I'd skip leg day, and I was only doing leg day once a week, and I was like, no wonder I've got tiny pins.
Go do.
So
He shoots a shot.
So I came home, and now I'm on Bulgarian split squats, RDLs, like all the I wouldn't even say accessory work. This is like main compound movements that are pretty big in terms of getting. Now, like localizing biomechanical range and that kind of aspect, I'm actually really enjoying training again. Like I think I've got, because I hit a plateau with what I could physically lift in the gyms whilst I was away, I sort of lost a bit of interest with it, and I got into the sort of beach training. So I'd just be doing abs every other session, and I'd spend 20 minutes doing abs. I've never done abs anymore. I just don't do it. So yeah, I've been off ships 2 years in the summer this year. So 2 years has been like the main turning point for me.
Very cool.
That was a very long day.
Right. Do you have anyone, like, for example, anyone that you, let's say, like a training partner? For example, when I first started training, I was lucky in the fact that I had my granddad who kind of taught me the basics of everything that I kind of know. Which obviously spurred me on because it kind of gave me that little bit of a ledge where I had a little bit of knowledge and I had someone with a lot more knowledge teaching me about these little things. So until the time I knew myself, I kind of started to develop things already. Hey, that's a no.
I don't know what happened, and I literally just blinked. But yeah, no, it's training early is important, but then I think you don't really know what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
I think
what I was trying to ask you was, did you have like a training partner, someone who was probably a little bit more experienced than you did when you first started training?
No.
So you're on your own?
Pretty much. I mean, no, I'm saying that, no, I had like a couple of mates, like, and we went through that experience of being in like one of them really grotty gyms. And like, if you went in the middle of winter, like the plates would be ice cold. So that sort of experience. And I didn't really know. I was just following their lead because I really didn't know. And it was basic training, but then I'd be like just getting exhausted every session. But then I'd be hitting like chest 3 times a week, but only his chest. I wouldn't be doing any shoulder work, no back, like legs. I can't even remember doing legs at that gym. That's how bad it was.
Wow.
Now, obviously, I do.
Oh, no.
Yeah. But even now, like 9.9 times out of 10, I will train alone because I prefer being in my own thoughts to being like, right, I know what I'm doing. Do you logbook or no?
Yeah, I use a logbook. I mean, if you're not logging your training, you're doing it wrong. I mean, like, you've got to track your training progress. You're going to find it more entertaining when you hit, like, for example, like PRs, PBs, and stuff like that. Yeah. But it keeps you accountable. Like, if you're just going in there to lift a few weights and stuff like that, you're not going to make at least half of the gains you could be making if you were following a structured program where you get, like, for example, like one of us, for example, putting you through something that's going to get you from point A to point B. So yeah, so I think after all that massive rant, obviously trying to discuss who we are, and obviously at the same time, why we do our jobs and stuff like that. The main kind of thing to kind of take away from all of this is we're technically just two guys who just love training.
Yeah, I think that was the thing that drew me in the most. Yeah. I love to train, and a little bit back on the logbook sort of thing. Nothing excites me more than going in knowing I need to do an exercise and I need to hit a number on an exercise. Like I'll drive to the gym and I'll be like, right, today is the day that I beat this number. And if that doesn't fire you up enough on its own, you're not going to enjoy training as much.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that is a very good point to end things off on.
Yeah.
Because we're pushing up nearly an hour. I mean, bloody hell.
We're on 40 minutes. I've got the recording on.
I thought we only had 20 minutes of things to talk about.
Well, mate, we'll go on for hours if we wanted to. That's why we've got to break it up.
Exactly. But, yeah, this is going to be my first time of closing things up. But hope you enjoyed our little chat. Hope you kind of took a few things away from this. If you didn't, don't come back.
Or tune in next time. We might have some more.
But hopefully now with more episodes coming on, but obviously we'll be able to put more topics in place, have a little bit more structure. Like we said beforehand, this kind of thing was just more or less us kind of talking about our experience, why we like training, why we're doing it, just a general conversation. So if you like this, great. If you didn't, great. Well, I guess.
Next time.
Nice one, mate. But yeah, we'll see you guys very, very soon. Ta-ta.
Yeah. So, just to follow on from what Myles has ended with, hopefully we obviously will be having a lot of the discussions ourselves with topics, but we do know a couple of people that we want to bring on as guests. So if this sort of talk isn't good for you, like obviously we're going to be involving more. So it's like speak to a few more people from different aspects, because in terms of straight off my head, we know strongman competitors, physiotherapists, Pilates instructors. So we want to bring as much variety as we can and hopefully educate you, especially during this time when you might not be going very far and you might get bored very quickly. So I know this is generally why we started this, but hopefully if this goes well and a lot of people enjoy it, we'll carry it on. Agreed?
Agreed. I guess I'll leave you for another hour.
We'll just find random people, random PTs that will be like, right, George, we'll go on today.
Right, guys. That's all sorted out. See you next time. Peace.
The universe.